Hey, what's going on, everybody? We are talking about Wirecast in this session. So, I'm excited to talk about this platform that I've been using for probably 4 to 5 years now, seeing all the new improvements that have come along over the course of that time. If you're here, let me know in the comments in the chat if you are using Wirecast. Are you interested in using Wirecast? Because maybe you're using something different. That way, it'll help me frame the context of the more important parts of this I'm going to cover today. Because if you're using Wirecast, we can definitely dive into some of the aspects of it that I like to utilize. But maybe you're brand new to it and you're just trying to figure out which platform you may want to go with. We'll talk about how Wirecast works and some of the functionality behind that. Because we're not going to do a whole bunch of comparison, but I will definitely show you the features of it. Because as you all know, if you're live streaming, there are a lot of different platforms to choose from. So, depending on different use cases, well, I'll show you the features of Wirecast that I really enjoy and why I use it. So I see interested in using it. Don't use Wirecast. Okay, awesome. So let me begin by showing you little screen share here so we can have some quick context as to Wirecast and what it is and why I use it. Now, Wirecast is a more professional live streaming software from a company called Telestream. And Telestream makes a lot of different products in the video space. Wirecast specifically is their live streaming platform, and it does have a price attached to it. So you will need to check the budget for Wirecast. It starts at $5.99, and if I scroll down here, you'll see that that's for the Wirecast Studio version of the software. The Wirecast Pro is $7.99, and then there's also a $99 yearly upgrade fee. So you essentially get all the upgrades every single year for $99 a month after you pay the upfront cost. So that is the cost for Wirecast, and these are some of the features of it. And you can find all of this out on the Wirecast, Telestream Wirecast website for all those specifics about the actual software itself. So I want to definitely do a lot of demonstration with you to show you some of the capabilities of Wirecast if you're looking to use it. Wirecast is a software based application, so it will need to be installed on your computer. It works with Mac, it works with PC, so either option that you have there, Wirecast will work with both of them. It is a license requirement, so you cannot be installed on multiple systems. So that is something that you definitely want to keep in mind, especially if you have a team and maybe you want them to practice with Wirecast. They would only be able to use the trial versions on their machines because you have one license per paid account that you're paying for. So it's super important that you take note of that as well. But let's jump into Wirecast and let me show you what it can do. All right. So I love Wirecast because of the fact it is, like I said, a production software system. On the left hand side, we have a preview side, and then on a right side, we have the program out. Also, if you notice at the top right, you'll see a little green and a red icon. That is consistent throughout Wirecast. So anytime you see green by default, that's going to be preview. And anytime you see the red, that's going to be associated with live. So right now I'm allowed to see both my preview and my live. And if I select the little green at the top right, I can see just my preview window. And if I select the red one, I can see just my live output. So I like to actually look at preview and output at the same time. A couple of different things across the top here. If we click on our stream tab, we can actually go stream, we can actually record, and we can do this simultaneously if we would like. We can do ISO recording, so if you're bringing in multiple inputs, you can do ISO recording. And this new feature right here allows us to do more output. I'll leave it that way because this is a very new feature right here. Below our two window panes, we have different transitions that we can choose from. So we're typically used to seeing cuts and fades, but there are a lot of different transitions. And you can set 3 transitions here by default, which is nice. So if you need a cut, do a cut shot, you can easily do cut shot and then transition. Or if you needed to do a different type of cool animation shot, you could select that real easily and play that. Over on the right hand side, we'll be able to see our audio, and we can actually output our audio and monitor our audio in real time. Below our two Windows screens, we have panel views. And this is what I really like about Wirecast, and I'll build this out in real time for you. We have 5 rows in Wirecast. These are layers. They're referred to as layers. And each layer builds upon itself. So I want you to think about stacking. If you're stacking layers, something on top of each other, like making a sandwich, you start with the bottom of the bun, then you might put a piece of cheese on the bottom, or you put some mayo on the bottom, then you put a piece of cheese, and you put your burger. So you're stacking layers, and you can only see the top layer. So when you're all said and done, if you're looking top down on your sandwich, you only see the bun at the very top. So that's kind of how layers work. So I'm going to select the plus sign next to my layer 1 here, and I can grab different elements that I want to showcase. I highly recommend using logos, anything that's small for your top layer. One of the aspects of Wirecast that I really like as well is they give you access to the stock media library. So if you're maybe looking for an image, a file, a video, audio source, you can actually have access to royalty-free content inside of Wirecast, and you don't have to pay additional for it. So I'm just going to grab a picture. I'm just going to type in the word logo and just grab a picture here. We'll use our fish here, and it will bring it into my Wirecast layer here. I can resize these and manipulate the image and move them anywhere I want to around. Below that, I'm going to add another layer, and I like to have this as being like the slideshows or any type of just picture files that I may want to show throughout the live stream. So I'll go back into my stock library, and we'll say, let's do celebration, and I'm just going to find a random slide here. Let's do balloons here. No, let's do people, and download that. And you can see that this shows up underneath that logo that we created. Okay, so the logo is actually on our top image, on top of the image that we just put in. Now, at any time you don't want to show an image, you just click on the left side where it says clear layer, and you won't be able to see that. The reason I really like Wirecast is the fact that I can see visually what my scenes are. I can create scenes in real time visually because I can see the image itself. In addition to the image, of course, we need our video. So I'm going to select video capture, and I can select any connected device that I have. So as I'm streaming this right now to the conference, I'm using my Blackmagic device, my ATEM switcher, but I also have a couple webcams connected. So I'm going to use my OBS AI tracking camera and add that onto here. Now, for some reason, my camera followed me out the room. So let's bring that back here. Let me see if I can get it to reposition back on me here. Okay. So now I have my camera, which is my webcam, brought into this scene. And all I did was select the clear layer and remove the other layers on top of it. So you can see that basically you can hide layers in real time. Next one I'm going to add will be an audio source, and I'm going to bring in audio from my PTZ camera, but I'm not going to, that won't come through the live stream. So that's my safest audio to bring in. And as you can see, as I'm talking, the audio meter is going up and down on the preview side, so I'm able to monitor that. So any changes that I make in the left window pane are on my preview side. So if I wanted to mute this, I would select clear layer and then my audio is muted, and to bring it back, it's one click. And I can do all of this in real time. Now, anytime you want to change some settings with inside of a particular element that you have, if you double click on the element, you'll get a pop-out panel window. This window allows you to bring in more elements in a particular scene here. So let's say that I want to bring in another logo or another image or another video source, anything essentially. I could essentially bring in my black magic, how you guys see me right now. And I've created this all in my top one layer. Okay. Everything else I could take away. In my top one layer, you can have a really customized broadcast. If I just wanted to bring in this top layer with my video, let's see here. Let me take this and I can flip it around. Like, you can really get custom inside of Wirecast really easy without having to go into different menus. Okay, so let's take this, and if I want to get rid of it, I just select the minus sign beside it in my customization, and I can bring back my webcam. Okay, so a lot of different tabs in here as well. You have the ability to come in and resize in here. You can change the accesses, which I just did. You can crop images. So as we grab images and move them around, we could do it that way, but we can also crop them down. So on the Mac, I'm just going to hold Control Alt, and I can crop an image just the way I want it and move it off screen. Scrolling down here, you have button controls that allow you to crop as well. So maybe there's too much headspace, I can just take the top down here. So you can do controls here, or you can do shortcut key commands to do that. We can change different colors. So let's adjust colors on here. Gamma, contrast, all kinds of control options inside of Wirecast. Drop shadows, these work good for text. And another part of Wirecast that's natively built in is the ability to do PTZ controls. So let's bring this back here. Okay. All right, so you can actually use PTZ cameras as well, and you can set up presets inside of Wirecast. So even though you might have a PTZ controller, so I use my PTZ controller. So I'll show you that on screen here. So I use a PTZ optics controller to control my cameras, and we can set presets on that. I also use my PTZ remote, so I can do presets on the remote. So there's a couple different ways we can control it, but you can also control it inside of Wirecast, and you just click a button. So that's one of the another reasons I like PTZ cameras with the combination of Wirecast. Along with being able to use Wirecast and the presets there, you can also control hotkeys inside of a Stream Deck. So for those that are using Stream Decks, you can program natively hotkeys inside of your Stream Deck for Wirecast, and it will pull the different scenes that we're creating in the platform. Okay, so if we want to preset just the top layer, we could have just the top layer play. We could have just the top 2 layers play, the top 3 layers played, so on and so forth. These panels, or these layers rather, they extend out quite far. So you can add multiple across top layers. So again, if you're using logos, this is one of the things that I encourage is every logo that you know you're going to use, I would line them up across the top layer. If you know you're going to use a lot of slides, you can do that across the top layer. So I know, like, a lot of churches love Pro Presenter, love some of the software for presentation. But if you don't have that and you're using like Google Slides or PowerPoint slides, you could put those in here and it would actually help your workflow overall. You would just download those as an image, put them inside of Wirecast, and everything is inside of one area. Okay. Josh says, on a side note, I think cross blur and Wirecast might be my third favorite transition. There are a lot of transitions inside of Wirecast for sure. So let me scroll down or back up rather here to the top. So this is just kind of the base functionality of Wirecast. And as you can see, there's a lot that you can do just from the screen I was on right now without even going into some of the menu options. Whenever you're ready to go live, you just select this button that says live, and then you'll be able to see your live. And then you're able to go back and play with your next scene that you want to set up. The next shot that you want to set up is what Wirecast actually calls it. Now let's go into some of the settings up here at Wirecast. Oops, click back settings. So if we go into settings and we go into our preferences tab here, we can, I'm on my Mac. Usually I'm on my PC when I go into settings here. We go into general. We can see that we have the ability to change how many transition buttons are available to us. So instead of having those 3 buttons, if we just wanted 2, we could do that as well. Other key components in here that I want to make note of. The resolution. We can change the default resolution. Mine is at 1080p right now. If you want to do custom Instagram native 9:16, you can do that as well. Or if there's another format, you can actually customize that to whatever format you want specifically there. Let's see here. Different themes. So Wirecast has something called X key controller. And the X key controller are color coded. So you can set your Wirecast to coordinate with the controller if you use one. And I think it's super slick to be able to, look at a color code and quickly associate it with it. Because however you line up your elements in your Wirecast layers are directly associated with the controller itself. So you can just tap on the controller versus using keys. So I'm going to change that back to something I use regularly. So those are just some of the things I want to highlight inside of there. Let's go back into the file up here. And let's go to new. Well, we can go to new, but I won't go new for now because we're in a new one. But we can save our presentations. So this whole basically layers of snapshots I've created so far, this can be saved as a specific show right now. So if I want to save this, I can call this testing for conference. And if I close Wirecast and open this back up, everything you see here on screen will open back up. Or you can create something brand new. So if you know that maybe you're going to have a special day set up and maybe it has nothing to do with regular services and you don't want to change anything in the regular service presentation of Wirecast, you can create a brand new with brand new images, brand new audio sources, because sometimes you may do something more remote. And I know some churches have gone inside and they're doing outside. So maybe you need to install Wirecast on your outside computer. If you uninstall Wirecast on your main computer, you can take that license key and put it on the outside computer, but you may want to open up your files or import your files or create something brand new for outside because maybe you're using a different audio source. Maybe you're using different cameras, so you can create another scene without having to delete anything if you didn't want to. Let's go into edit section here. These are pretty self-explanatory. Once you do it, you basically opens up the layer and makes that edit for what you're actually selecting. You can duplicate shots. So if I wanted to take my camera, let me put something else on the program, that way I don't confuse y'all looking at you too many times. We can go in and duplicate this shot so we don't have to recreate it over and over. So if I know I'm going to use the same shot for multiple things, I can just duplicate it multiple times and then make that slight variation change in it at that point. So I'll just do something real quick so you can see the difference. Okay. So now each shot is different. And it just it's really quick because all you're doing is duplicating the shots. Go back up here. Let's see here. Moving things around. So let's say you made a mistake in Wirecast and you have things on a different layer and you're trying to figure out like what happened to my camera, and I can't figure it out, and I don't want my camera to hide my or I don't want the picture to hide my camera. I could take a layer and move it up. Okay. So now if I select the top layer, I'm going to cover everything down below it. So you can easily move things and rearrange things around on the right layer that you want. Now you definitely want to make sure your audio source is on the bottom layer, the last layer that you're going to use. Otherwise your audio will not get seen. So for example, I'm going to turn on audio so you can see it on the left hand side. But if I take my audio and I move it up here, this is my audio can cover everything. It's hard to explain it, but I promise you, do not put your audio on the top layer. Put it on the bottom layer. Otherwise, you'll likely drown yourself out. Especially if you have any videos that have audio in it, you won't hear your true audio. Jinx says, can Wirecast send audio to multiple devices? Explain that a little bit deeper. Wirecast is a live streaming software. It's not an audio mixer. But explain it a little bit further, because you're only sending data to platforms. You're not sending separate feeds. You're not sending audio to one place, video to another place. It's all in one single output. So the right hand screen is one singular output. Now you can send the output to multiple destinations as a whole, which is actually the next part I'm getting to here under the output sections, or output settings rather. So if I click on output settings, I can configure my RTMP, I can configure Facebook, I can configure YouTube, all inside of Wirecast as well. So the way I'm coming to you guys now through the conference, I configured my RTMP with the RTMP address here, and then I put in my stream key here. Then I can also change my frame rate, encoding, all that good stuff here. And then you can name it. So if it's a custom RTMP that you know the platform you're going to, you can name it and save it. Now I'm going to open it back up again, because you can actually do multiple at the same time. So some platforms only allow you to go to one location simultaneously. Otherwise, you have to use another program to redistribute that feed. But Wirecast, I can add multiple platforms. So if I wanted to, let's say if I want to go to Facebook Live, and I'm not going to log in and configure everything, I could do that. I could add YouTube as well. And when I'm ready to go live, all I need to do is make sure that I have each of these checked, because anything that's unchecked, it will not go to. Once I check all of these and select OK, if they were configured, obviously, when I hit stream, it would go to all three locations that I have selected at the same time. Now, your computer will need to be powerful enough to process all of that data. So I would not go more than 3, unless if you have a computer that can't process it. So they'll definitely look at the Telestream Wirecast for PC specs, because it'll tell you what you need specifically. Jinx says, is there an audio monitor out while streaming? I want to send audio to free conference call also. No, this, you would not use Wirecast for this. Wirecast is a production live streaming platform. It's not for, it's not to be customized to kind of do things it's not natively built to do. So you don't want to you would send monitor audio out before you came into Wirecast. So for example, if you're coming out of your audio mixer and you're bringing in your input on into Wirecast here, you would already take that audio that you're bringing in and split that before you even come into Wirecast, because yeah, it's not built to do things like that. It's built to go live to a platform, not to redistribute and split or anything like that. Any other questions that you guys have before I go on here? I'll go back into output settings again here. You can actually record inside of Wirecast as well. So if you want to make sure that you're getting a recorded copy, select stream to record MP4 file and name your file and your location. That way you'll have a file saved on your machine as well, your local machine. Rodney says, do you still have to put in a stream key, or will you be able to set it to your account and just stream? Need a little bit deeper on that question too. You can put in a stream key, yes, because you need your stream key anyway. Or will you set it to your account to stream? So it really depends on where you're streaming to. If your account can be synced and set up, so like Facebook, I can natively go into Facebook and authenticate, right? So where's Facebook Live? So I can go to Facebook Live. I can actually authenticate and log into my Facebook account. So at that point, I don't need to go and find my stream key in RTMP. Or if I don't know it or somebody else is managing it, you can manually go in and do it. So essentially, you can do it both ways. It's just use case and workflow more so, if you need it or not. Because at the end of the day, the authentication, you're still doing it. It's just automatically doing it versus you having to manually go in and put it in. But if multiple people are going to be managing the live stream through if multiple people are going to be managing the live stream through Wirecast, do not use the authentication piece, because if you're not there, or if the settings get lost, or you change your password and you're not there on that Sunday to run the live stream, then no one can live stream. They would have to go in, manually do it anyway. And if someone hasn't done those steps in quite a while, they probably won't remember how to go in and put in that stream key URL. If you're the only person that manages it, then you'll be okay just to authenticate. But again, if you make any changes, settings on your authentication side, it's going to affect that Wirecast side too. Okay, answers the question. If you can link the account to stream instead of always putting in the stream. Okay, yeah, so answer that question. All right, let's go up here. So we talked about output. There's also NDI. I'm going to see if I can do this in real time. But NDI allows you to bring in NDI sources. So I like to use and I may be able to pull it off better over here on my true Wirecast system that I'm using. So let me see if I can do this. So Wirecast has an app, and I'm not sure if I still have it installed on here because I don't use it that often. And it's called Wirecast Go. Okay. So let me switch over here. Let me see. Wirecast Go. I don't know if I have it on here. But it allows you to do mobile live streaming. So you can actually bring in your mobile device into your live stream production with their Wirecast Go app. I personally prefer the NDI app because the NDI app is faster, and I see that it has like less lag on it. So it's called NDI HX, and it'll bring up my phone, and you can see my phone right now. Oops, let's do it this way so you guys can see it. My phone is, basically a camera right now. Now I'm going to bring in that into my production that I'm sending to you guys right now. So if I go and hit the plus sign and I go into where is it at? Let me do all. I have an option that says NDI source. Okay, so I do all NDI source. I'm going to select OK. And now my NDI source, if you look at my preview window, is my cell phone. Okay, so I'm going to hold it over there and look at my PTZ, and I'm going to switch to it live. So now I'm live on my cell phone. Okay, so I'm live on my cell phone right now. And all I did was just use the NDI app and brought that into Wirecast. So that functionality and how it works really fast is just another reason I really like Wirecast. All right, so let me go back to my Wirecast window here. I got two Wirecasts going on. I got the one streaming to y'all, and I got the one I'm trying to teach on too. All right, so click on output again. So we looked at NDI sources, which is the last one down here at the bottom. One thing you also do have is something called a virtual camera out. And a virtual camera out essentially is anything that's on the output side is a camera. So think about if you wanted to push this signal or this feed into like a Zoom conference. This, what you see here, like the picture of the celebration, would be what people in Zoom would see. If I select my camera and push that on the output side, they would see this image on the output side. If I put the logo and my camera and then output, virtual camera output, they would see this on the Zoom. So the virtual camera out is a nice function too to create these non-static video presentations that can go to other platforms. All right, layouts up here at the top. Nothing really in here to kind of go over, but you can change basically the way the panels and things are laid out. Replay and ISO, you can actually do live replay inside of Wirecast. So this is more so, I kind of think more so sports related though. If there's a great play and you want to go back and show the replay of what just happened, you have that ability to do it inside of here. Social, you can bring in feeds from Facebook and Twitter into your live stream broadcasts. There's another app that that Telestream offers. I can't remember the name of it offhand, but you can incorporate that into this as well. And again, on the Windows side, there's the option for your PTZ controller. You can also do multi-view inside of Wirecast. We won't talk too much about that because the setup it's easy, but it will throw my live stream off to you guys tremendously. But you can do a multi-view setup. So if you're bringing in multiple camera sources into Wirecast, you can do multi-view similar to those of you all that are familiar with the ATEM switchers and how I have the multi-view panel going on here. You can actually do that in Wirecast as well. So the inputs that are coming into your Wirecast setup, you can see each in a multi-view window. So a lot of different functionality when it comes to that too. All right. Questions. Definitely feel free to ask. Hope I'm not confusing nobody. Trying to go fast enough to give you enough information about Wirecast, but slow enough to make sure that I'm covering some of the things that you can do inside of the platform as well. Okay. But if you have questions related to it, definitely now's the time to ask. Let's see. I'm going to build out. Let's go back onto the screen. I'm going to build out another scene for you guys to show you. All right. So inside of Wirecast, what I did here, let me go back this way too, is the plus sign allows you to bring up this window to add your different shots. If you select the All tab, you'll basically see every type of asset you can bring in, everything that's available to you, that's physically connected or that's built into Wirecast. So at the top, you'll see all my system devices, my switcher, my cameras, all of that, audio devices, NDI sources. They have something called Rendezvous, which is basically an interview platform. So if you want to bring in guests into your live stream production, you get a link that you can send them, and the system is called Rendezvous. So you create what's called a rendezvous session here. You can bring in website streams into your broadcast. So essentially, you would type in the URL of the website and it would bring it natively into Wirecast. Remote desktop presenter. This is pretty cool. If you want to bring in another computer into Wirecast, you would use remote desktop presenter. You would just install this onto the other computer, and both of them would have the other computer essentially would talk to your main one with Wirecast installed on it. You can do screen capture. Those of you all that got here early, you saw the countdown timer that I used, and I built that all within Wirecast except for the little spinning red that was going around, but the word starting soon and the actual clock was built into here. Image carousels are basically images that change over time. You can designate the time. QR code generator, it generates QR code. Somebody scans it, they can come to the link that you want them to go to. Scoreboard, you can add text. There's custom titles that you can add in here. Virtual sets, the library that I already mentioned, the stock library, and placeholder tabs, but those are more so for like interviews. So that's in your all section. And then under all, it basically divides it up into the correct section for you here. Okay, so this is just a division of the all section. I will show templates real quick and answer questions. Rodney says, does Wirecast have scenes like OBS or vMix? This is your scene right here. You actually, so the difference between, because I don't want to do a comparison because use cases are different, so I don't want to compare. OBS, you cannot see the scene before you go live. You create the scene and you have to know what's in the scene. You can see the preview once you click it. But in Wirecast, I can create the scene in real time. So everything I see could be a scene. So if I know I don't want the logo to show, but I do want the graphic to show, and I don't want audio to come through, like I'm creating the scene in real time. So you can't create, you're not necessarily creating a full scene to go live every time, but you can in this view. But they do have the element called shots. So what you do is you create it in a playlist. So you do have the option to do both essentially. So I could drag everything inside of this playlist here. So I'm trying to do it. So I can grab and play. I could play a playlist. So let me double click on my playlist here. Let me try to manipulate this a little bit. So this is kind of the equivalent of a scene, is what they call a shot in here, a playlist. So let me blank this out real quick. Go to the one I just created. What did I do there? I got something not coming through right. But essentially that's in here. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong on here right now, why it's not picking up. But it's a playlist essentially. But I like to create stuff in real time because the flow changes all the time. All right, no more questions. All right, if you have questions, definitely ask those away. All right, let's go into I'll show you PTZ control. Here's the PTZ option here. I don't have my PTZs physically connected in a way to show you how to move it here, but you literally can click to pan, tilt, and zoom on here. You can focus in on here as well, all inside of this one asset. So you can actually pull this off to the side of the menu here. That's what I like to do if I'm using it this way. But I use my controller more so than I use it inside of Wirecast, but you can definitely do it this way as well. Josh says, we use Wirecast playlists at our church for prayer, song, and pre-recorded praise and worship. So perfect example of how to do that and why doing that too. Can you share tips on showing rolling lyrics over video? I use case. It's a use case thing, and I know AJ says it too. It's so different for everybody. Like my church, we don't even do that. Like it's so it's a use case. You could bring in another platform and integrate that into it. Let me see if I can try to build something in real time, real quick for you. But I don't. But every software works differently, so it's more of a contextual thing to kind of it talk to that. What you can bring anything into Wirecast. So you have to tell me what exactly you're using in order to better understand what you're trying to do with it. But essentially, with these live streaming platforms and the customization that you can do, you can build anything you want. Like I tell people, watch TV. If you like a look, you can build it in Wirecast. So you would take you would take the software and bring that in. So that remote desktop presenter option that I was saying, if I wanted to bring another computer in, let me see if my laptop's connected. Hold on. I got my laptop sitting right off frame. So I'm trying, as I'm talking, I'm trying to think about what I can do real quick in real time to kind of demonstrate it. So I'm gonna bring up my laptop, and I'm gonna bring my laptop into my production here. Well, actually, I'll bring it into the real time production. That way, you guys can. Nah, I have to bring it in here. I think. Let me see. Do you feel the computer specs need are lighter than OBS? Okay, computer specs are much more needed on here than OBS, for sure. Wirecast is a heavy program. It definitely is a heavier program. vMix is a lighter program to use. I know, I know my vMix people are like, they really love vMix. I like vMix too, but I've just been using Wirecast for so much longer. There's a couple things that vMix does that Wirecast can't do, like the comments, like bringing comments on screen, which vMix Social allows for. Wirecast is unable to do that. So there are some things that I do prefer on the vMix side, capable wise, but Wirecast, it does require some more PC computer resources to run. All right, I'm trying to bring up something real quick. Let me see if I can bring up my slides from last session real quick to demo what lyrics would look like. And again, this is just real quick trying to build something. Let's see. So I have. All right. All right, so let's try to do something like this. Okay, so we're gonna pretend this screen up here is my second computer that's running lyrics. Okay, so this screen is a second computer running lyrics, and I'm gonna bring that into Wirecast. Let me think, make sure my connections are set up to do this the way I'm thinking I want to do it. All right, let me build it over here. I gotta build it over here. Shout out AJ. Every time I see you do something in real time, I think about it. I'm like, man, I gotta think this through and make sure I can do it before I do it while I'm talking about doing it. All right, so let me duplicate this shot here. Ah, man. All right, I'm gonna have to bring it in this way. I'm gonna have to bring in another camera. Okay. So let me bring in my camera here. All right, so we'll pretend that this is the main camera looking at praise and worship, looking at the singers, right? I'm the singer in this illustration. On my other computer per se, which in my case is going to be Blackmagic, I'm going to bring in my other computer source onto this. And I'm going to manipulate the image down where, oops, that's not what I want. I want it this way. Okay, I want it this way. All right, cool. Cool. All right, now we're back. Thank you for catching the audio. See? Thank you for catching the audio. We're trying to do this stuff in real time, clicking buttons. So right below here, this could be anything. So essentially right now, all this is PowerPoint brought into Wirecast from a secondary computer. But this image could be software from anything. It could be a video that's playing the lyrics. Wirecast does allow you to bring in text. You can do scrolling text as well. So you can bring in that audio, or you can bring in that those lyrics any way you want to. Essentially, it can be done. I'll put it that way. It can be done. It's a matter of workflow and ease of use. So what you guys saw when you didn't see the audio coming through, what I was doing was, let me get this off the screen now because that's Black Magic on Black Magic. What I was doing over here, the reason the audio went out is because when I was building this real quick, I had my audio up one level and it was on the same level. And so that's one thing that you'll pay attention to as well, is if something is on the same level in your Wirecast, it will drown it out. So I'll show you easier on picture in picture here. All right, let's do that. Okay, so now we're looking back at our test one. And I'm going to change this to here. And this is why you want audio at the bottom on a second line by itself, for the reason it just happened to me. So let me create this first so it makes visual sense. Okay, get rid of stuff that's not necessary to distract you. Okay, all right, delete. Oops, delete. Okay, so let's say that I was playing my video and I have my audio running at the same time, right? On the left-hand side, you can see my video, you can see my audio. But what I had did was I accidentally put that other scene I needed to create on the same line as the audio. And when I clicked on that other image beside audio, you notice the preview audio stopped because only one source is going to play on the layer at a time. So if you want all the layers to play at the same time, they need to be on different levels, or you have to build it out more so inside of one of your shots. Okay, which this picture on top of the video is a good example of, because this could actually be split up into two different elements. I could have the picture as on layer one by itself if I really wanted to. Okay, so let's get rid of that altogether. Delete here. So all of these three elements that I have selected, they're on different rows. But if I put this on the same row and then I select this one, that audio drops out. So audio on a separate line at the bottom is what I highly recommend when you're using Wirecast. Okay. All right. Any additional questions that we can walk through when it comes to Wirecast? I'm trying to think of some different cool things that we have in here. There's a lot of things you can do with the text. You can do, let's create a text thing here. Let's go down to all. Or we'll do overlays. Let me show you titles. They have some presets in here. So I can move that up to a row. And then I can create things. You can change, like I showed before, we can change the gamma, contrast colors. If you're doing like interview things, you can easily build that in. I'm trying to grab that there. And then that would be basically, I'll do that. That would be my new shot. So you can use some of the default templates that it has in there, or you could bring in your own overlays as well, but they have a lot of defaults in here too. Let's see, virtual sets. I wouldn't recommend virtual sets, but if you're using green screens, virtual sets are back here, and they have some default ones like that. Oops. And the A and B back there, they basically are the different shots you can customize. Right, like right now, all you can see in there is my mouth, but you can customize different shots for A and B with these virtual sets. But I'm not a big fan of the sets, but they're there. The scoreboards are back there, so maybe you guys are having like a church basketball function. You can bring in scoreboards inside of your Wirecast production there and produce that. And let's see what else we got. Template, already we went through those. Network, we went through those. Media files. I think I can't underestimate and stress enough, like, they give you royalty free images, graphics, and video files, audio files inside of Wirecast. So if you're looking for a particular picture or just need some audio, even the audio I played before we got started here, that was audio that I pulled directly from the Wirecast library. So if you've ever used audio blocks, story blocks before, that's essentially where I pull all my audio from all the time. All right, let's see. Mike says, "What brand is your ultra wide monitor?" It's a Samsung. So, when those of you that live stream, you kind of know the importance of having multiple monitors to live stream. So, typically, what I like to do is have my Wirecast either on the left or on the right, depending on the setup of the day. But if I had two monitors, which I actually used to have three, one would just be the live streaming software, so Wirecast, and then the other side I would use to monitor everything, so I would know I could see Facebook, I could see YouTube. So the ultra wide, it's nice, but I still manipulate a lot of the space here myself. So with Wirecast, you can shrink this down. So maybe I don't need it this big. I can shrink it down smaller, or I could max it out a little bit bigger, and it helps reduce the eye strain. New toy I gotta buy. Keep an eye out for Amazon Prime Day. And you guys know with this live streaming, we're always upgrading tech and gear. Those are some of the best times to get software. I do stream on the Amazon Live platform. So when I stream on Amazon Live, I'm actually streaming with Wirecast. So if you ever want to kind of see my workflow, I do demonstrate it a lot there, because I'll do a lot of over the shoulder shots to talk about different products for businesses and for ministries to use. So I stream it with the combination of my ATEM to Wirecast. How much time I got? All right, a couple minutes. I could talk that real quick. So rather than connecting all my cameras and audio sources directly to my computer into Wirecast, I'm actually bringing in my Blackmagic as the video source into Blackmagic. So every time I switch on here, I'm not creating a whole bunch of scenes, because if you look at my Wirecast right now, I'm going to delete all of this stuff. Well, I'm going to delete this real quick here. The only thing really I'm using in Wirecast, I've only really created 4 shots. My countdown that we saw before we got started, the shot that you're looking at right now, which is called my Blackmagic, which is my webcam, essentially. That's one shot. My USB camera that I'm only using for demonstration today to show you into the other Wirecast, and then my actual screen share. So I'm not using a bunch of shots inside of Wirecast, but I could if I really wanted to. So being able to leverage the equipment that works best, again, use case, it works better for me to connect all my cameras into a Blackmagic and bring those into Wirecast, rather than trying to connect 5 cameras into a computer and then bring all of those up individually into Wirecast. So use case, workflow, I'm big on that. You got to make it simple for you, what just makes sense. So that's all I have. Unless there's any last minute questions, we'll knock those out real quick. But it's been awesome to bring you guys a couple presentations during this e-missionary conference. Again, shout out to AJ for I know he ain't not gonna take all the credit for it, but he was the person that thought about this idea. The idea came to him, the inspiration to put this together. So it's been awesome to share insight and knowledge that I've acquired over these, oh my gosh, 25, 30 years of being in media ministry, and then being able to share it with those of you all that are here in attendance and everybody that watches this and watching this by replay. So you guys enjoy the rest of the conference. Look forward to seeing you all in the Zoom group sessions afterwards, and I'll see you later. Have a good one.